My name is Stefan Gentz, and I'm the Senior Worldwide Evangelist for Technical Communication at Adobe. Quick question, who is using Adobe FrameMaker? Oh, quite a lot, okay. Who is using Adobe FrameMaker 2019? Okay, less. Who is FrameMaker 2017? A few more. Something older than FrameMaker 2017? Okay, good. So, so again, that's me. And we changed a lot in FrameMaker 2019. So FrameMaker 2019 is probably the biggest update that we ever made for Adobe FrameMaker in the last 20 years or so. And it starts with the installer. We changed the installing technology. We changed everything, so we even started with that. And installing FrameMaker with the latest Adobe installer technology is lightning fast. So in a couple of minutes, you can install FrameMaker 2019. And when you start FrameMaker, it looks like this. So the people who work with FrameMaker 2017 will notice that. The dashboard it looks similar to the one that we had in FrameMaker 2017, but we updated it and improved a couple of things. So now you can, for example, pin documents here. You have a couple of more options here, and you can access all the unstructured and structured document creation processes from the dashboard. And the biggest change is we did a complete platform update. So we changed pretty much everything under the hood of FrameMaker. And if you go to forums, the Adobe Community User Forum or so, you will see people talking, there will never be a 64-bit version because the code is so old and FrameMaker has a long history and even the developers cannot manage it anymore and so on. And in part that was true, but we invested heavily, or Adobe invested heavily into FrameMaker. And this is why we came up with a 64-bit FrameMaker in the 2019 release. So there are two versions. There's a 32-bit version and there's a 64-bit version. But we highly encourage you to use the 64-bit version because it's just much faster and the user experience is much smoother. And close that window here. So you can handle very large and complex XML and non-XML documents much faster. There's no memory limit anymore. The physical RAM in your computer is maybe some limit. And there are 32 and 64-bit versions. If you have some older plugins that are 32-bit, you might want to install both versions because the 32-bit plugins will not work in the 64-bit version. But if you don't have this 32-bit plugins, or if your plugin provider has not updated them, you can use the 64-bit version. And we completely updated all libraries that are under the hood. So if you look into the FrameMaker installation directory, there are all these library files, the DLLs, and we updated all of them. So today, FrameMaker is really within the Adobe toolset and within the Adobe products compared to InDesign, Photoshop, Illustrator, and so on. Probably the most modern product under the hood. So everything is on the latest version. And for the German-speaking market, maybe not so interesting for you, collaborated with Duden, which is a dictionary and hyphenation provider in Germany. And we have integrated the Duden engine, which was integrated in InDesign sometime last year or the year before. We also added Austrian, German. If you're translating into these languages, that might be interesting. And all the spelling reforms are supported now as well. So if you're authoring German content, that's very helpful. And of course, we updated this content management system support. So now today we have connectors to Adobe Experience Manager, DITA Exchange, Documentum, Microsoft SharePoint, and Microsoft SharePoint Online, which is new in the 2019 release as well. So you can connect to all these repositories. And of course, Adobe Experience Manager, our own content management system, which is a web content management system, but also a DITA CCMS. And you can connect directly with Adobe FrameMaker to AEM. And we have support for modern version control systems like SharePoint Online. This is how it looks like. You have this pod, and you can navigate through the structure of, for example, SharePoint in this screenshot here, and check in files, check out files, add versions, and so on. And big change in FrameMaker 2019 is PDF. So we invested a lot into that. And we have implemented the Adobe PDF library, which is also part of InDesign. So today in FrameMaker you can create natively PDFs from FrameMaker. So you don't need to go that route through printing into a PostScript file and running the PostScript file through Distiller, Acrobat Distiller, and so on. You now can do that right from within FrameMaker and create natively PDFs from FrameMaker. And it's much faster than the old route. So it's about 65% faster, and you can publish to PDF and 6 other output formats like Responsive HTML5 and Amazon Kindle and EPUB, and you can create mobile apps for iOS and Android with FrameMaker, Microsoft CHM, and of course Adobe Experience Manager Mobile. And you have all the pre-pressed options that you have in InDesign as well. So you can define very granularly how your PDFs will open, how they will look like. You will have marks and bleeds, crop marks, and all that kind of stuff. You can secure your PDFs with 128-bit encryption and give a password right from within FrameMaker so that the PDFs are protected and only people with a password can open it. And we have advanced DITA publishing options, so you can define individual templates for each of the different DITA types, like a task or glossary and the book title and so on. And you have a couple of very granular control options for DITA publishing, like what do you want to generate automatically with FrameMaker, like a table of contents and index and list of tables and stuff like that. And of course, as we are Adobe and are developing the PDF standard, we have also prepared FrameMaker and the publishing engine for the next generation of PDF experiences, which will come up from Adobe in the future. Cannot say exactly when, but FrameMaker today is already PDF 2.0 ready, the next version of the PDF standard, and it's ready for next generation PDF experiences like reflowable PDF and responsive PDFs and all the things that are probably coming from Adobe next year. And of course, it's accessible PDF. So if you want to take care of that or deliver to government organizations PDFs and so on, it's fully Section 508 compliant. That's important when you export to the US. And it's fully tagged and fully accessible PDFs. So you can configure that in FrameMaker and map all the elements and paragraph styles to PDF tags so that the PDF can also reflow on a mobile phone and so on. We also invested heavily into the graphics engine of FrameMaker and implemented graphic engines from Illustrator and Photoshop. So we have a complete new SVG engine. It's Adobe's latest SVG engine, and Adobe is co-developing the SVG standard. And it's a much better rendering quality in FrameMaker, so we have a much sharper and nicer and richer preview of the SVG. You can easily handle multiple images and drag and drop them into FrameMaker, and they will import in one batch. There's support for SVG generated with the latest Adobe Creative Cloud products, like Illustrator. And just to give you a quick idea, this is how an SVG looked like in FrameMaker 2017. You see here the shadows, you see the details here, and this is how it looks like in FrameMaker 2019. So you have FrameMaker can now show really the gradients and much more details in the graphic. And of course, it goes as a higher resolution, scalable vector graphic into the PDF. We also updated the JPEG engine. So today we use the latest Photoshop JPEG engine. It's super fast JPEG import, and you will notice that when you scroll through a document with a lot of graphics, how fast that is now. In the past, when you were scrolling, it was often like tuk, 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 going through the pages, and now it just scrolls through. We support JPEGs up to 42 megapixel, and the whole experience with working with graphics becomes much faster and smoother in the 64-bit version. And we also introduced, because a lot of people were asking for that, transparency and opacity. So now you can import PNGs with a transparent background with an alpha channel. And you can also set graphics to be transparent and have an opacity so that you can put multiple graphics on top of each other, and the upper one shines through, and you can define how transparent that graphic should be. And this You have that here in the object properties now. You can set the opacity, and you have a see the referenced file with the full file path here, and you can browse, click the browse button now and replace the graphic. So a lot of smaller details and enhancements as well. And FrameMaker 2019 is the first application for authoring content in the world that supports Google's new WebP format. Google WebP is Google's replacement of PNG. And it's much smaller than PNG, the files are much smaller, and the quality is higher than at PNG, so you have a smaller file size but a higher quality graphic. And this is especially important when you create online helps and want people to access them over the mobile network or so, and the smaller your graphics are, with still high quality, the better the experience for your customers is. And we also support animated GIFs now. So you can create nice animated GIFs with some illustrations how to replace a part or whatever in the machine, and it also goes into the responsive HTML5 output and into mobile apps, so you can become more creative with working with graphics with FrameMaker as well. And even more for images. So you can now define a default padding for imported images. So maybe you remember when you import the graphic, the FrameMaker creates that anchored frame. There's always a small gap around the graphic between the frame. And you can set that to any value you want now, like 0 points or 10 points or whatever. We have right-click options. When you right-click on the graphic, you can set fit to frame proportionally, or fit the frame to the image, stuff like that. We also support icon files now, and there's a much higher quality and faster HTML5 output. So when you create online helps, this goes much faster now because the graphics aren't converted anymore, but handed through in the publishing process. And of course, as we heavily invest into DITA, we also improved a lot in the structured content authoring space. Quick question, who is working with structured content or DITA or any kind of XML? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, okay. So still not a lot of people. And the rest is all working with unstructured content, like classic FrameMaker documents, or Word, or InDesign, or RoboHelp. Okay, good. So we invested a lot into structured content, and if you're already doing it, you will like it. If you're planning to do it, you will see how much easier it will become. So we invested a lot into the right context menu. Now you can insert and copy and paste elements very quickly and rearrange them more easy. We have also updated all the pods, so now there's a small search bar, for example, and you can, when you have a lot of elements like in DITA, you can just type in some element name and it will filter the list. Also the same in the paragraph catalog or character style catalog or table style catalog. We have added this small search bar. So a lot of these smaller user experience enhancements. And of course, you can open DITA maps much faster now. You can even open nested DITA maps very fast, and there's a completely new packager. So you might have seen that packager here before, but we completely redeveloped it, and it's much faster now, and you can archive whole projects. That doesn't matter if it's a DITA map with a lot of topics and a lot of referenced graphics. You can package it and send it to your translation provider, for example, or package it and archive it, and that goes much faster with the new packager. And there's also, and this gentleman here in the front, Jan Grad, is one of the key heads behind that. We have introduced a DITA constraint and customization wizard. So DITA is very complex with hundreds of elements and hundreds of attributes, and if you want to start with it, it can become really, really complicated to remember all the element names and so. So with that DITA customization wizard, you can just click which concept and task and so on you want to customize, and then just throw out all the elements that you don't need and create a subset of the DITA standard, which is still 100% compliant with the DITA specification, but has less elements and reduced to the elements that you are actually working with every day in your life. We also, and that's a big thing I think for the XML people, we implemented Saxon Enterprise Edition. So Saxon Enterprise Edition is probably is used by all the experts in the XML world, and it's the fastest XML and XSLT and XPath engine. And we ship that now out of the box. It's a hundreds of dollar saving that you make there because you don't have to buy Saxon Enterprise Edition separately anymore. It's now part of FrameMaker 2019. And a lot of other XML enhancements. We've added support for XSLT 3.0. We integrated DITA Open Toolkit, the classic one, 2.3, and the latest version 3 of the DITA Open Toolkit. So if you don't want to use FrameMaker's internal publishing engine for responsive HTML5 output, you can also use DITA Open Toolkit in the latest version now. We did a lot of fixes around S1000D, especially for Windows 10. And you can pretty print XML now. You have a full XML source code editor in FrameMaker and so on, and a lot more enhancements. So we have a real-time progress indicator now. So when you're publishing a book or printing a book or updating a book or so, you have these real-time progress indicators which have a modern look and feel, not this strange old FrameMaker look and feel. There are a lot of enhancements in the welcome screen. We have brought back colored icons because a lot of people didn't like the grayscale icons. Yeah, I like the grayscale icons, but I think it's a calmer interface and I can focus more on the content, but a lot of people wanted to have these colored icons back. So we brought colored icons back, and we throw away this old special FrameMaker dialog to insert a graphic or insert other files. And now we are using the standard Windows 10 file dialog, which gives you the preview of the graphic before you insert it, and and you can search through subfolders and stuff like that. So that's a much better experience than with the old dialog. And a lot of other enhancements, but I don't want to go too much into it. We have maybe a few things. You can use high DPI screens like Retina displays on a MacBook. We have fixed a lot of smaller bugs, for example, the graphic toolbar. We have enhanced the command search. When you press F7 on your keyboard, you get that small wizard. You can just type in something like print PDF, and then it fires up the publishing dialog. We have solid fill patterns, so maybe you remember that in the past when you had a gray table heading or so and set it to 20% gray, then you had that very pixelated gray pattern and you couldn't really read the text and so. And all this is gone now, and we have solid colors there, better color support as well. You can do right-click on a tab and open the containing folder where the document is, and so on. So there are a lot of smaller enhancements in FrameMaker 2019 as well. So in a nutshell, we have a very modern platform with 64-bit support. We have a complete new PDF engine where you can create natively PDFs. There are many imaging enhancements. There are many XML and XML authoring enhancements. You have very fast DITA file handling. Just to give you an idea, we have a customer who has big help centers based on DITA and ditamaps, and they published that to responsive HTML5. With one single map can have up to 1,600 topics. In the past, they were publishing that over the weekend because it took so much time. It took about 20 hours. And they came to us and say, hey, this is not acceptable. we really need to publish that faster, at least overnight with, let's say, 8 to 10 hours or so. Cutting the time by half would already be a big step. So we looked into that publishing process, especially for DITA, and we could bring it down to about half of the time. But we were not happy with that yet, so we brought it in the end with multiple steps to 20 minutes. So today they can publish a big whole help center with thousands of topics instead of 20 hours in 20 minutes. So that shows how fast FrameMaker has become there, especially in the publishing field. A lot of productivity enhancements like real-time progress indicators, Windows dialog, etc. All libraries are updated. FrameMaker has the most modern platform under the hood. Duden dictionary support for SharePoint Online, and all the CMS systems are updated. You can customize DITA, you can effortlessly create EDDs now. 64-bit with a new PDF engine in the FrameMaker Publishing Server. Is anyone using FrameMaker Publishing Server already? No one yet? You should have a look at it, because you can, of course you do. Because you can automate all your publishing processes very good. and a lot of smaller bug fixes and enhancements. So that's a quick overview of FrameMaker 2019, and now I will show that in action to you and show you how to work with DITA in FrameMaker. So you see the start screen is also changed. Looks completely different than in the old version. So when you start FrameMaker, you have that dashboard here, and right at the top you have create a new document in XML, and you can create a topic, a task, a concept, a reference, a map, or a bookmap. And here you have the classic FrameMaker options, like a classic portrait document, landscape document, project, or book, and you can open the standard templates and so on. So let's open a topic. Yes, what I did in the welcome screen was that I just clicked on a topic, and then FrameMaker creates the new topic for me. And you see the structure view here on the left, the document in the middle, and on the right you have your pods. And here you have the workspace on the top right, and I select XML structured here, so that I get all the pods and menus and so that I need for structured authoring. Then I can just type in a title, like let's say maintenance instruction. Press Ctrl S and just save it. You have that root element topic at the top left. Then you have a title. Then there's an element short desk. There's a prologue, and there's a body. So this is the basic core structure of a DITA document. And in contrast to classic authoring, where you work with paragraph styles and character styles and so on, in the XML world, in DITA, you create elements, and these elements have a semantic meaning. So in the past, you were using a paragraph style like, let's say, heading 1 and heading 2, heading 3, or warning, and you created these paragraph styles on your own and named them in your own way, and maybe you called them 0 underscore heading 1, 0 underscore heading 2 to get some sort of sorting there. And you created paragraph formats for lists and table cells and so on. And in DITA, you have a set of elements, and all these elements have a semantic meaning. So the most simple form is a P, like a paragraph. There's the body of the document. There's the header of the document with the prologue and the short description and the title. And let's start with the short description. In the short description, the DITA standards recommends that you insert or introduce the reader to the topic, to the main idea of that topic. So when the reader arrives at that topic, the reader gets an idea what this topic is about. So it's a small introduction paragraph. Let's say I write something like, in this topic. In this topic, you will learn how to execute the annual maintenance of the machine. And then I can insert an author. In this case, that's my name, Stefan Gentz. And then we can start writing content. So we insert a simple paragraph like the machine has to be maintained every year. And then we want to insert, let's say, a graphic. And that's as easy as with a new insert menu, insert image. Now I have that image here. And now let's look at this page. It looks like a normal printed page, and it will look exactly the same when you create a PDF from that. But it's XML under the hood. So when I go into the XML view, and that's that small icon here at the top, there you have that these two brackets. That's the XML view. And when I click on it, FrameMaker goes into the source code editor of that document. And there you will see our XML. So this is the same content that you see in the Visivik view a couple of seconds ago. So here's the XML declaration, version 1.0, encoding UTF-8, that's Unicode. Then you have the doc type. The doc type is topic, and it's from the public standard, OASIS standard, DITA 1.3 topic, and from the domain technical content. Then there's a topic with an ID, and this ID, FrameMaker gives a unique ID to every topic that you create, but you could also change that ID to something from your own. Like maintenance. And then you can later on identify this topic always and reference it and so on. And here's my title element, and it starts here with the title, and then it ends here with the slash title element, and in between there's the maintenance instruction. That's the content I had typed in. And here's the short description element, and here the short description element ends. And then I have the prologue with the author, and then comes the body of my topic with the paragraph. The machine has to be maintained every year, and here the paragraph ends. And here you have that image with an href, and the href is the path to that graphic. Yeah? So this is pure XML, and I can also edit the XML code here and insert another paragraph. And when I go back to the Visibig view, I have that paragraph here at the bottom now. Yeah? So let's say we are producing some content for a machine, and I want to insert another graphic, and that's a 3D graphic. And if you think about combining DITA XML with 3D, that's something really cool. And I can, of course, insert barcodes and create my own barcodes in FrameMaker. I can also do that in DITA. Yeah, that's a 3D graphic, and I will show you in a couple of minutes how that looks like in the PDF output then. Now increase the size of my, my anchored frame, and it's fit to frame proportionally, and then FrameMaker scales up the graphic without distorting it, and it's scaled properly. This is another paragraph. So, okay, so we have a small, simple topic, and now I want to publish that topic. And I say File, Publish, and here I have my publish pod, and here I have PDF, and I say Edit Settings. And there I can define all the settings. I can create a job option, use a job option file like high quality print and PDF X4, PDF A, PDF X1, PDF X3. So all these pre-pressed job options are there now as well. I select high quality print here, and you can select all the PDF standards like PDF X4 2007. Then I can say my PDF should open on page 1. And it should open at fit width. So all these options are there. You can define the layout of how the PDF should open in Acrobat, like a single page or single page continuous. You might know these options from Acrobat. And in the past, you had to set them in Acrobat. Now you can set them right in the publishing options. And I say single page continuous. Primary output purpose, online or print. Depending on what you select, you have options like crop marks and so on available. Optimized for fast web view. I want to, of course, create tagged PDFs. And let me save that in my project folder so that I have it available and can share it with other people, like a colleague or my translation provider or whatever. And then I just say, create me another output folder. And then I start creating my PDF. I have that 3D graphic now in my document, so it takes a little bit more time. And I can say View Output, and then Acrobat starts. And now I have my document, my PDF. And as you see, it looks exactly the same like it looks in FrameMaker. And this is completely unique. You might think, okay, yeah, of course, that's what I expect. But if you go to any other XML editor, you will not have that. Any other XML editor just shows some representation of the content, but not the representation that you will see in the PDF. And to get a more or less close view between your authoring environment and your PDF output, that's extremely hard to achieve with any other tool. And when I scroll down to my 3D graphic here, and if you're an engineer or so, you can now work with the with this maintenance instruction, and in the PDF you can rotate through that engine, and you can select the parts and stuff like that. You can zoom in and zoom out, and that's combined with DITA. So you have a full DITA XML source content which is full standard compliant with the DITA standard, And you can even do fancy stuff like interactive 3D graphics. And you can also implement videos and so on. And MP4 videos, you can insert audio files, you can create your own barcodes and all that kind of stuff. So all that is possible. So now we have our topic here. I save and close it. And now in my dashboard again, I have these options like topic, task, concept, reference, and map. And I create a map now. And now I have that map pot here on the left, and I click Save. And this ditamap, when you work with unstructured FrameMaker, that's sort of in unstructured FrameMaker, you have a book file. And in the book file, you collect all your individual chapters. And in the DITA world, you have a so-called ditamap, and you reference all the topics in there. And you can reuse the topics between multiple maps, of course. Let's say you have one document like a legal document with legal text. And you want to use that legal document in all the maps and all your books that you're creating, and you can just reference them, and you just have one single source of truth there. And if legal changes something, they change it in this one document, and it automatically updates in all the documentations that you have. There's one question.
Is it possible to work with the layers so you have text upon the picture?
Yes, yes, you can do that. I can show you that. So here I have that graphic, yeah? And then I have my graphic tools. I create some call out here. And of course you can also put it above the graphic. But as easy as that might look now, there's one small problem with that. That's DITA. And DITA doesn't know that concept. So you would need to save that DITA XML document as a structured FrameMaker document. And then you can do all this stuff, additional stuff that DITA itself doesn't allow. So the better approach, what I would recommend here is you create this graphic, for example, in Illustrator, save it as an SVG graphic, and import the SVG graphic into the DITA document. Then you're still 100% standard compliant. Young grad.
I'm going to show you something.
Exactly. Later on in the day, we have a session with Young, and he will show, he has developed something really cool, a very cool extend script where you can work with SVG graphics and still edit the content in FrameMaker with call-outs and stuff like that. He will show that in the afternoon. That's a very cool workaround for the limitation of DITA there. But DITA just knows the concept of a graphic. DITA doesn't have call-outs or stuff like that and cannot position them and so. That goes beyond the DITA standard, but of course, with some cool solutions with FrameMaker, you can do that. So here on the left side, I have my ditamap, and now I can insert a topic, insert a child. So I click here on that small insert child icon, and here I have topic ref, and then I can say, get the insert element dialog, and here in reference, href, I click browse, and then I select my maintenance document. This maintenance document is inserted into my ditamap. Let me just duplicate that document, installation, and then you can insert this second topic, create that topic ref to installation. And what you see here now on the left is I have my map title, I have maintenance, and then as a child of my maintenance, I have installation. And of course, probably installation is not a subtopic of maintenance. So I can use these arrow keys here to move that around. Start with installation and maintenance, so I can order and change the order of the topics in my ditamap. And that's basically how easy it is to work with FrameMaker and with XML and DITA under the hood. And if you go to the file that you had created and open it in any kind of other editor, let's say Notepad++, you see that this is really XML. It has no formatting information. There are just these elements like title and short description and prologue. But how does FrameMaker know how this should be formatted? How does FrameMaker know that this element title here, this one, gets the paragraph style title.0 and has font size, font calibri with 24 points? That's because FrameMaker has that additional template designer that you also know from unstructured FrameMaker. So you can create a template with all the paragraph styles that DITA has, the standard DITA has, and change it completely. And say, okay, our company doesn't use Calibri, but we use, and I want to have the heading Adobe Clean Black in 36 point. And I can update that style and can change the look and feel of my XML document, and it will look exactly the same in the PDF. Yeah, so in pretty much every other or all other XML editors, you would need to go to an XSLT developer and a CSS developer, ask them, hey, can you please make my title element in Adobe Clean Black and 36 points? And we say, yeah, currently we're busy, but you can come back in a week. And then it takes about 2-3 hours to update the code for the XSLT and the CSS. Then we need to test that, and then we can roll it out to your machine, and then you can start creating PDFs with this different font size. And in FrameMaker, you can do that with 2 mouse clicks in 2 seconds, like I just did. So that's much more easy and much faster than with any other XML tool. Of course, DITA has all the other stuff like cross-references, content references. You can reference one paragraph from one document into some place in some other document, and you update it there, and it will automatically update here. All these functionalities that DITA offers are there in FrameMaker as well.
What about importing formats from other maps? Like we did in import formats, we use that a lot in our books.
So, yeah, not really, because the process is different. In classic unstructured FrameMaker, I hate saying unstructured FrameMaker. It sounds like people are not structuring their content, but you do in a way, yeah? But there's an inherit structure that you create, and you use paragraph formats and character formats or styles to visualize this inherit structure.
Variables, conditional text settings, all the time.
Right.
Yeah.
So, and for that you create usually a template document or have one document that contains all these styles, and then you import that into other documents. But in FrameMaker with DITA, or in DITA in general, it's a completely different story because you just have that. There are no formats, there are no styles attached to that. It's just pure XML. So what FrameMaker does is, when you open such an XML file in FrameMaker, FrameMaker looks into the structured application and looks which template is used. And then you have one template document, and every time FrameMaker opens a topic, for example, or a task, it's using the template for a topic or a task. And when you change that template, next time it will look exactly like in this template. I just showed you that example with that I changed the font, yeah? But that's not the template file. So I was a little bit doing a trick here to shorten the process a little bit. But what you would do is you would go to the template file and change it there, because when I close that file, you can. And that's a good thing because it gives consistency throughout all documentations and all team members. They can format whatever they want. When they open the document, it will still look like it looked before, because the formatting information is not stored in the XML. You can temporarily change that, but every time you reopen the document, this additional formatting will be gone. And that's the power of XML and DITA. It might first sound like a restriction, but in the end it's a big advantage because it brings in consistency in formatting throughout all documentations, throughout all departments in a company and so on. So you would go into the template file, change it there, and every new topic you open will then have automatically that formatting. So you have that one single formatting source, so to say, and that's the template file. You can go to the structure menu, and there's a structured application designer. And there you have all the DITA applications, like let's say DITA 1.3 topic. And there you have the DTD, the read-write rules, and here's the template file, topic.template.fm. And this file you would open do all the formatting changes that you want, insert your company logo, change the header, make a two-column layout or whatever. And then every topic you open then will automatically have that new formatting applied. So you never have to reformat complete document sets and go through 1,000 pages and change something.
Is it possible to have several layouts for different kind of documents?
Yes, you can just go to that structured application designer, change, you create, let's say you're a vendor, a supplier of parts for another company, let's say automotive, and let's say you're from Bosch and you're delivering parts to BMW. And they want to have your supplier documentation in their layout so that they can ship it to their companies and car houses and so on. And let's say you want to have a specific template with a specific BMW design with BMW corporate font. And then you're also delivering these parts to Mercedes. And they have a different corporate font and a different design. So you create two templates, one for BMW, one for Mercedes. And depending on which PDF you want to create, you select in this dialog, you select a different topic, different template, create the PDF, then you produce for BMW, select the BMW template, and it will look completely different. Same content as XML, no formatting information, but it renders into that template in that design then. So you cannot have it more easy then. You don't need to import formats and styles from one documentation set or duplicate the documentation, say this is now the version for BMW, this is the version for Mercedes, and here I import my styles for BMW and here my styles for Mercedes. No, you just have that one single documentation set and just change the template and create different kinds of outputs.
With variables.
Mm-hmm.
You can have variables in it.
In DITA, it's called key, and you in the ditamap you define the keys. Think of it like variables, and in the documents you're making a key reference. So you're referencing to that key. Let's say a product name or a company name or stuff like that, or a part number or whatever. And then you are just referencing that, and you maintain and change the value of that key in the ditamap. That's also an advantage over classic FrameMaker, because there you would need to change the variable in one document and then import it into all the other documents. And here you have just one single place where you maintain and change it.
Thank you. We have very little time. Maybe you can just show a little bit of the smart paste thing.
Yeah, sure. Anyone working with Microsoft Word? I mean, for technical documentation, or then I don't need to show it. But I can show it to you for one reason, because even if you're not working with Word, you probably get content from other people in the company that work with Word. So let me show you that. Let's say some engineer or marketing people or legal or so, they provide some Microsoft Word document to you and say, please embed that in the documentation. And so you get some Word document, which is, in the best case, properly formatted with paragraph styles. And let's say they also send you this technical data table, yeah? So I just copy this Microsoft Word table, go to my DITA document, click at the position here in the tree, in the document view, where I want to insert it, and then I say, edit, smart paste. And what FrameMaker does then is analyze what is in the clipboard coming from Microsoft Word. Takes a little bit of time. On the first time, because on the first time FrameMaker is running the starting up the Saxon engine in the background, and then it transforms the content from Microsoft Word into DITA XML. Yeah? So I have the table, the T group, the T body with the individual rows and the individual entries. Yeah? So this is content coming from Microsoft Word, and I don't have to recreate that table as XML. I just smart paste it into FrameMaker. That makes collaborating with Microsoft Word authors even more easy. And we have some pretty cool solution from a partner, Practice Innovation. They have developed a tool where you can just open a Microsoft Word docx file in FrameMaker, drag and drop it onto FrameMaker or click File Open, and it opens as a DITA document. And then you can edit it in DITA and insert graphics, insert tables, add all the structure, save it as a DITA copy, and you can also save it back to Microsoft Word docx. So if you're collaborating between Microsoft Word authors and FrameMaker XML authors, DITA authors, you can even seamlessly collaborate between them. And all the changes are stored, and that's very easy. Okay, yeah, time is out. Maybe 2 more questions?
Yeah. Can you do similar things through InDesign? Like,
In InDesign? Or?
Now to like copy things from InDesign to...
I haven't tried that. I would need to try that. Sorry? If you can, the question was if you can copy and paste content from InDesign to FrameMaker or DITA. I'm not sure, I haven't tried it yet, but what you can do for sure is export the InDesign document as XHTML. There's a nice XHTML export. Then open that HTML file in Chrome, Edge, whatever. Control A, copy, smart paste in FrameMaker. Then you will go. So that process is very easy. That migration of content from InDesign to DITA is very easy, if you go that route. But you need to have all the text boxes connected in InDesign so that you have a constant flow. Otherwise, you need to do that 20 times. And one last question?
If I already have documentation in XML, it should be easy to import the FrameMaker.
What kind of XML is that? DocBook or some custom XML?
Custom XML.
Custom XML? From a content management system, or?
Yeah.
Okay, so it depends on how compatible the XML is with DITA from the inherit structure, because DITA has a certain idea of how content should be built. It should always start with a title, then optional a short description, then comes the body, and for example, you cannot do a table in a table or stuff like that. Yeah? So there are certain limitations on the content architecture. And if your content architecture is more or less similar, with you have topics or content chunks or snippets or whatever they are called in your system, if there's an analogy between the inherit structure of the content, then it's easy. And then you can even just search and replace content. Okay. Otherwise, you might need to create some XSLT that maybe rearranges elements in a document or stuff like that. So. But you can also do, FrameMaker does not only support DITA, but any kind of XML. You can also build a custom structured application for your custom XML. So a lot of companies do that, especially in Germany in the automotive industry. They very often have their, or machinery building or so, they have their own corporate XML structures that they developed 20 years ago, and they all do that with FrameMaker.